Dr. Manatunga, Ms. Bindu Urgudavatta, Mrs. Dilum Karunaratna, then Mrs. Shriyani Hemalata and Madhavi Gulpatna. We have a new arrangement. I will request Ms. Bindu Urgudavatta to present her paper first on non-Indian influence on the Buddhist art and architecture of Sri Lanka during the pre-colonial period.
Good morning, everybody. This is an ongoing research project, and I'm constantly, as I find new data, I keep on changing my perspectives and my theories. But this is an attempt to show you some non-Indian influence, because we know the 18 castes of craftsmen came with Sangaminka to Sri Lanka during 3rd century BC, and we have a lot of Indian influence which we have developed and adapted to be very Sri Lankan through the centuries. But among these, there are very specific non-Indian influence, and this is an attempt to choose and identify these things. So the first one I'm talking about is Cupid. This is the frontispiece of Abhayagiri monastery. There is the Abhayagiri monastery on the side, and this was stele was first published in Smithers Architectural Remains of Anuradhapura in Ceylon in 1894. Since 1894, there was only one other photograph of this portion of the frontispiece which I could find. It was in Anuradha Seniratna's The Ancient Anuradhapura, the monastic city. Again, if you see on top, on the top is, if you look at it, it possesses a horse with wings. It's not a typical Indian or Sri Lankan image. As there are time constraints, I'm not talking about it, but I'm going further. This is on left. On your right, or on my right, you will see that is the same photograph as which appeared in Anuradha Seniratna's book. This is the frontispiece of Vahalkada detail, and if you look at the column there, it's the same column which I have highlighted. You can see from top, the third figure is a little boy which looks like Cupid. It has wings, and then it has curly hair and a cherubic face. The other is the frontispiece is more or less very symmetrical. So in this particular frontispiece, this one was well preserved and the other one was not so well preserved, but this one both had the Cupid with wings. This is again the other motifs in this pillar. It's there is a lion, there is a bull, there are elephants, and the horse. Horse, if you notice, has the tail is hanging down, whereas the lion has the curled tail, which we are more familiar with. Okay, this is the Cupid. If you look very closely, you can still see the wings and the cherubic face, curly hair, and the naked little boy, which is from Cupid. Now, this is roughly 1st century of the Common Era. Christian influence hasn't reached Sri Lanka at that time, because it wasn't even very popular in Rome and Greece. So let's look back to where this image came to Sri Lanka from, because I only found this image in the frontispiece of Abhayagiri, with wings only in one frontispiece and without wings in one other frontispiece. Okay, this is the winged art or winged creatures. Humans with wings were depicted earliest in Assyrian art, and a lot of the Greek and Roman art historians believe that it's from Persia, and that winged creatures, winged human beings came to the Mediterranean world, to Greece and Rome. So this is the origin of it. The Assyrian art and then the subsequent art of Persia, not Mesopotamia, sorry, Persia continued to have this type of images till 4th or 5th century. This is one of the early angels from 5th century from Maya Maggiore church. It's a mosaic, and if you look at it, the early angels followed the Assyrian prototype, not Cupid. Cupid was actually became a part of Christian art during the Renaissance, which is post 13th, 14th century. So this is not an influence from the Christian art, but more directly from Greek and Roman. The other interesting thing is that you don't find Cupid, the images of Cupid in Persia or India, at least I have been able to find during this period. This is from Baruch's stupa, carving on the gateway. You can see a winged figure. You can see the wings. The special feature of this is that in human figures where the wings come from the shoulders. If you look at Kinnara, the wings are, or the tail is more coming from the back, not from the shoulders. This is more like the shoulders. But if you look at its execution, it has more familiarity with the Persian counterparts rather than the Cupid. This is from Swat, temple at Butkara, again the same thing, but it is clothed and it has wings, but it's not Cupid. Another image from Kunala monastery. This is again Central Asia. This is a detail of it, but if you look down, the little boy in the which was a part of this sculpture has a little bit of the curly hair. This is a detail of it. So this little boy doesn't have wings, but it has some of the features you can see in Cupid. This is another sculpture from Peshawar, Naini Music image, and this also has wings. Again, it's an adult, it's not the little boy. This is from Tapakalan, Afghanistan. Now this is actually Cupid, but since this is 3rd century, the Cupid we find at Abhayagiri is much earlier. This is from Central Asia in Chinese Turkestan, Iran. Again, these date to 6th or 7th century, so it's again later than what we find in Sri Lanka. This is from an early casket. There is actually a pair of these with the Cupid. They both look the same, and this is from Subhasha Monastery, and this is again 6th or 7th century, not as early as what we find in Abhayagiri. So let's look at the Cupid from Greece and Rome, and if you look, the first one there is the Cupid at the foot, near the foot of Venus, then next one is Cupid standing. The third one is near the shoulder, and the fourth one is right there. This is from Pompeii. This gives us a very good timing because Pompeii was destroyed in 79 AD, and this is so it's a standstill, and this is a very good example of contemporary Cupid which we can use to compare with Abhayagiri one. This is again from Cupid, not Cupid but winged creatures. So in Pompeii you get both Cupid and also other people with wings coming, adults coming with wings in their shoulders. This is again what we find. I have compared it with the Greek Cupid image, and this is where you find it. I only found these 3 pillars with Cupid. The first one and the second one, they were in the same frontispiece. The third one was lying around. So there are 2 figures of Cupids or 2 rows, but wings are not there in this one. On the third one, they have not incorporated the wings, but the figure is the same as Cupid. These are details. The first one, which is the best preserved. The second one, if you look very closely, below the hand, you can slightly see the shape of the wing. And the third one, you can see that they have become a little bit fatter and no wings at all. Again, this is a detail of the Cupid. This is the frontispiece where you get the two Cupid pillars. Okay. What I believe is we have from Pliny that Sri Lankan delegation sent by the King of Sri Lanka went to Roman Emperor Claudius's to meet Emperor Claudius in 77 AD. So when he was there, this was a group of 5 people. They probably came back and they probably brought a portable Cupid image or something, or they were instrumental in getting this Cupid figures incorporated into the art of Abhegiriya. But this didn't take, it was a foreign thing, and then gradually they just didn't include it in the other frontispieces of Abhegiriya. So what I believe is this is directly from Greece and nowhere else, because Greece and Rome, where we see the Cupid in early art of those countries. Okay, the next is one, when I'm talking about non-Indian influence, I decided that there are a lot of examples, but I'm going to limit myself to 2, one from West and one from East. And this is Satmahal Prasada, which has been given a lot of interpretations. One is HCP Bell said it's similar to the shrine, those things, only a simple arch. Then Roland Silva also suggested that it has some links with Mahamalapuram Prasada type or the pre-Angkor styles of Cambodia. But one of the other things we need to notice is that before the Buddhist era in these countries, we can't find a precedence for this type of architecture as far as I was able to identify. This is Ferguson, and he suggested that it was similar to the 7-story temple of Assyria, and once again, when you look at the conjecture and even the steps, it's a brick edifice, and that's about the only similarity you can get. Then Paramaritan also said that Naka Vihara in Anuradhapura was sort of the precursor of Satmahal Prasada, but we don't have enough details to study this. But what we can assume from this is that looking at Nakavahara, Sri Lankan craftsmen, by the time it came to Polonnaru period, had the technology, had the knowledge to create something like this. So let's go back to the history of stupas, Sanchi and Vanvarisai in Sri Lanka. Then this is again Karla, one of the early stupas in Chaitya caves in India. This is Dharmarajika in Pakistan, again very simple. You get the terraces and then the dome, and we don't get a lot of sculpture in this. We go back to Ajanta cave 19, and there is the Bodhisattva, actually the figure of Buddha here, and then a little bit more elaborate. And if you saw the documentaries which were organized by the SAARC Cultural Center since last week, you would have noticed that it beautifully portrayed the change in patterns, that the Chaitya Guha became very elaborately carved as the post-3rd, 4th century. This is again Takshila and Gurudwara Stupa near Bamiyan. You can see that the terraces became more prominent, and they carved, or they had more sculpture in the terraces, images of Buddha, more arches, and it became very elaborate, and dome became smaller as the time went. This is again the miniature stupa from Takshila. It's the photograph. If you look at it, you can see that the dome shape of it is hardly visible. So this is what actually went from this type of portable things would have gone to China, Central Asia, and then China, which influenced the art there. This is from Yuchuan. This is dated to 4th century, one of the early stupas. And if you can see, the dome shape of it is hardly visible. It's becoming more straight and square. These are from paintings of Kisil and Dunhuang. What Professor Numal Disiva showed us from Algeria, these are really caskets. These come as paintings from Kisil, which is in Central Asia, Taklamakan desert. And more than one of these type of stupas were painted in the caves at Kisil. And if you look at this, the dome shape is hardly visible. So you already see the dome disappearing and it's becoming more terrace kind of stupa or in Central Asia. These are again paintings. If you look at the top on, well, this side, it's from Kakrak near Bamiyan, and again you will notice that the dome shape has become very reduced. Then the others are again, it's more square. If you look on the third one, this one, you can only see the halo of Buddha, but you can't see the dome shape. It has disappeared from the art. This is a detail which shows it more clearly. You can see that it's a square stupa. It's although we can see the top near little dog part near the pinnacle, the body is not a dome shape. This has already in Central Asia, these paintings are dated. I've taken a group of paintings from 4th century to 7th century. So these have changed the shape already in Central Asia, and it continues to China through the Silk Road. So I come back to China, and China has a lot of examples of this type of miniature buildings, mostly excavated from their tombs. This is dated to Han Dynasty, which is nearest to the period when Buddhism arrived. This was an already evolved architectural type, and you can see that even before the Buddhist pagodas were created in China, these were already in a part of the architecture of China. Then we go back to Yungang grottos. This is very specific dating. This was built in less than 100 years. The dates are 460 to 525 CE. And you can see that the pagoda shape has already been developed in Yungang. Yungang is the first large-scale royal patronaged Buddhist monastery in China. And this is where you see this first. These are the photographs. These are the Chaitya Guhas at Yungang, and they are called central pillar caves. And you can see that there is ornamentation. There are statues of Buddha and lot of detail. And you also see the step kind of thing or terrace kind of different levels, and there is no dome-shaped building here. These are some other images again from Yungang. If you look at them again, the first one with the elephant at the bottom is what was converted to become a Chinese pagoda. Chinese pagodas are always had odd numbers, not even numbers, and you can see it in all these things. This is one of the earliest square pagodas in China. It's from Shanxi province, Sui dynasty, and I believe this was one of the reasons that we have Satmaha Prasad. Let's continue with this, and the first image on this is the Greater Wild Goose Pagoda, and then in the middle is Xuanzang's tomb or Xuanzang's pagoda, and then the smaller Wild Goose Pagoda. Now this was originally built during 5th century, where the smaller Wild Goose Pagoda was actually smaller, and it was a square pagoda, but where Fashian lived, but then they made it larger. And this was during Tang Dynasty. So the other thing which happened is these square pagodas, as time went, people repaired it and they changed the shape. But there are still a lot of square-shaped Tang Dynasty pagodas remaining without changing its shape. So these are some other pagodas, Tang Dynasty again, and the first three are from Yunnan province and the fourth one is from Dongfeng County. Again, you would see odd numbers of eaves or terraces in it. Some of these pagodas you could go inside and climb to certain levels. I think that was the plan at Satmahal Prasada. There was an entrance, but for some reason they didn't have the knowledge or technology, or they didn't build it up, but they made it close. This is again Kaiyuan pagoda with the sketch from Tang Dynasty. This is also something which we can look at as from China. This is Satmahal Prasada. If you look at it, there is not much difference from what we saw as square pagodas in China. And again, if you look at these two, odd numbers of stories, 7 or 9 or 11 or 13 or 15. Maximum is 13. These kind of pagodas actually continue to be made in China, square pagodas, but by 10th century they started also making octagonal shaped ones, and they also increased to the square pagodas were a lot more simpler, less decoration, but octagonal pagodas continue to have more decorations and very elaborate carvings. This is Satmahal Prasada again. If you look at the detail again, you can see there is a statue of Buddha, some kind of a statue. I think it's Buddha, but you can see an arch going up and the small entrance which has been blocked. Okay, this is a later octagonal pagoda from Tianjin. This is from 5 dynasties. You can see the elaborate carvings and detail coming in the architecture. So what I believe is Polonnaruwa period was, we know that Parakramabahu was going to Burma, he was attacking, he had a big fleet of ships, and this was the time where we find the Chinese ceramics and coins from Alahana Pirivana. There was a lot of exchange between Sri Lanka and China in this time. And Chinese literary records also state these, that there was a lot of contact with Sri Lanka at this time. So I believe that although Professor Dr. Roland Silva believes that this is from Angkor Wat or whatever, I think this tradition of square pagodas for veneration as a Buddhist relic was first developed in China, and it was through the Chinese sailors and the Sri Lankan merchants who went to China, to the southern coast of China, that this developed. There are a lot of square-shaped pagodas in southern coast of China still existing, which would have been there during the Polonnaruwa period. Thank you.
I think it's a new eye-opener, because we were thinking mostly that we are getting influence from India only, but we are getting so many other influences, because Sri Lanka is in the middle of a sea route, so therefore everybody crossed through, and we had trade with other part of the world, so therefore the exchange of people and ideas were there. We don't design anything. It says that everything should be designed out of something. Nothing can be designed out of nothing. If something was collected when they went round for their designs. So it's an influence that came up with time. And I think it's very good research, which I think we should continue a little more to see that how much that we can get. And at the same time, the pagoda in China, earlier it was some kind of a tomb of emperors, with the same architecture was adopted to Buddhist format and continued. So it's like when say Dutch came here, we had a pillar, front veranda. They adopted that as their open stove and made it into a stove too. It was the adjustment and the arrangement, bringing some kind of say, hybrid using two different design elements. So that's how things came in. This is the time for discussion. Yes, please.
It's a very good paper. It's an eye-opener for me too, because in China, we don't have much information in India, so we cannot link. We really link them together from Sri Lanka, then Taxila, and then Central Asia, and to China. I think it's a wonderful work. That's congratulations. But I think you still should continue work because you still have gaps in between. And then you really link them together would be wonderful study. You'll be the first one.
Thank you. I would like to make two comments. One is Professor Limaldi Silva said that Chinese adapted the pagoda type tombs. No, the tomb was a different architecture, but they enshrined replicas of buildings. Worldly goods like what you did in finding pyramids, there was a similar case in China also, so there were a lot of goods there. And these terracotta or buildings were a part of it. And two, one of my problems is that we don't have, I have a lot of access to information in China, but again trying to find about Angkor Wat, pre-Angkor Wat, and then the Buddhist monasteries in Southeast Asia is a little bit difficult. I looked at the stuff in Thailand and I couldn't find anything in Thailand which was more similar to what we have in Satmahal Pras in Polonnaruwa. But the problem is that there are similar monuments. But Thailand again had a lot of contacts with China. So my problem is there are few which predates, but I couldn't get enough information to determine whether it was pre-10th century and whether, because there were a lot, because some of it they said it has renovated. So then, were there any architectural changes? This you can't identify without a proper archaeological documentation or something. Because if you go to Wat Mahatat in Sukhothai, there's something which is very, very similar to Satmahal Prasada there. And the other reason is that in Yunnan province, where there is also a group of Thai people, Thai minority living there, there you find a lot of these square pagodas.
But then you should go to this Indonesia.
Yeah.
You go through the kingdom of Srivijaya.
Yeah.
You know, this Sri Lanka is very important to that route as well.
Yeah.
The Buddhism through Srivijaya,
Yeah.
Sri Lanka, Srivijaya, and Java, and then went to China and other routes.
Yeah.
And then also
again, it's a matter of finding the correct information and also being able to dig deep. Because I read Chinese and I can go, get all the information. The access is a part of problem. I'm not disproving completely. I know that the Satmahal Prasada in Sri Lanka had Chinese origin, but it's a possibility that I want people to consider. And I do know there's more, as I said at the beginning, this is an ongoing research.
yes, it's ongoing. It's very good. Very interesting presentation. But Bindu, I would agree with you about the Chinese origins of Satmahal Prasada, because it's very well documented. Our literature has documented very well Kamboja about the same time. And in fact, Senrat Paranvitan, only after I went to Cambodia, I realized that I can answer from this area. I'm not familiar. I do not have any comments on the other big photographs, other comparisons, because I do not know. But Satmahal Prasada and Wat Phu in Thailand, very similar. And the documentation is that in Sankamala's period, there was the Kamboja Vasala, and in fact he instituted an inscription asking the people, soldiers or whoever, not to catch birds. So Paranamitan and also Colombo had said that because it's a Buddhist country, it's not good to catch birds, etc., etc. Only after I went to Cambodia, I realized that Cambodians catch any kind of bird and eat. Anything, even the meru, the flies or whatever at night, ants, flies, anything and everything. So I think what happened was, I wrote about it, Senrat Panamitan and also the former archaeologist misunderstood it, and Nisanta Malala was very embarrassed that the Cambodians were catching birds and eating. So he instituted this inscription. So there is a lot of evidence to show that Satmahal Prasada is very much the origins are very much from Cambodia. And we also have contributed to Cambodia, and also we have got something from Cambodia. I have written about it, this. And and also what Kokul about the same time. So it's very far-fetched to say the origins are from Satmahal Prasada, the origins are from China. All your other material, I'm very impressed, but I would not accept this because there is no material to prove that it is Chinese. We had very close, of course the Sri Lankan king wanted why the trade links were cut off, etc. Because he wanted to contact the Chinese Empire through Cambodia. You see, and the princes were confiscated, etc., etc. So there is a lot of evidence to show that Sri Lanka and Cambodia had a lot of close relations, and they were living here, etc., etc.
I agree with you about Sri Lanka having a lot of contacts with Cambodia and everything, but this is what I'm trying to point is that the shape of pagoda, that originated in China. Whether it came from China directly to Sri Lanka or whether it came from Cambodia, I think that needs to be resolved. But the fact that there were, before the Buddhist period, the Cambodians nor anywhere in Southeast Asia was able to find any tradition where non-Buddhist, where they had this pagoda-shaped building. So that is where I'm coming from, because what I'm trying to say is that the shape, whether it came to Sri Lanka from Cambodia or influence from Cambodia, is a matter which needs to be resolved. But the shape of pagoda, what we see today, came from China. It originated in China because that was where they started that type of architecture earliest.
Okay. Sorry.
No, your presentation was very interesting, but I am curious about, now we are talking about the Indian and non-Indian influence of Sri Lankan sacred sites. But what about the indigenous Sri Lankan features which are not found in any of the other countries? Like the association of the pottery with the temple. Have you found it in any area in your travels?
Yeah, even in China, they have in some places, especially in Central Asia, in Kisel, you find association with the pottery or what they call the puti shoe. Chinese Buddhist texts record about the Bodhi tree. So that association is known, but not necessarily depicted except in some places in Central Asia.
Thailand, you don't find it.
I'm not an expert on Thailand.
But not to that extent.
Not to that extent, but you find it. I'm sorry, I have to come in. I have this area of my research. Not to that extent. But in fact, in Thailand, Cambodia, to all these places, the pottery went not from India, but from Sri Lanka. Because only after Barack Obama's first period, these connections were kind of established. So the pottery went from Sri Lanka to these countries. You find it in Thailand. I can give you the references and the pictures.
Okay, any other comments or? Right. Thank you. Sorry.
Yes,
Perhaps you can look at the temple, Chinlong temple. Now it's ruined, but then they just had an excavation, and it was built by this Sri Lanka, who is, I thought, his name is in Chinese is Wukong, but yeah, he's the third Hansen. This Hansen did lineage, but he's from Sri Lanka. And the Chinlong, now you can find excavation. They are some of Sri Lankan influence.
If I may add,
Yeah.
yeah, Chinlong's excavations, I checked it when I was in China, I read the reports. But if I remember correctly, it was post, what I read was post 13th century. So
No, that is not post 13th century, it's in Tang Dynasty. Also was a building Tang Dynasty. It's, I think it's, it's the 9th century or 8th century.
They had restorations in that temple.
But they excavated some base. I
think when I was there, it was still being carried on, and I didn't get the new reports. I said I'll check that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gulawatthar. Professor of Archaeology at Calgary University, present his paper, an appreciation, interpretation to the Buddha statue at Galvihara, Puranarur.
Wrote after Bindu, because this paper is also on Puranarur, but different monument. It's more popular than Satmahal Prasad, I think Galvihara is one of the most famous sites in the world and well-known site. I will briefly say what is Galvihara. You all know about Galvihara because Galvihara is one of the most attractive Buddhist sites in Sri Lanka. It is well known due to its colossal and elegant Buddhist statues which have no parallels anywhere in the world. This says the bill says that there are no parallels in the world. The site has been identified as Uttararama, built by King Parakrambahu the Great in the 12th century AD. So you see the view of Galvihara. So this is the Galvihara. And according to the Mahavamsa, the Uttararama has been built by King Parakrambahu with 3 image houses, namely Nisinna Lena, cave of the seated statue, Vijjadara Guha, cave of the Vajradhara statue, Nipanna Lena, cave of the recumbent statue. It is obvious that the 3 of these image houses were named after the images or statues housed in each of them. Let's see these 4. No, there is an ambiguity because there are 4 images, 4 image houses. The houses have been fallen down and now only ruins are there. But there are 4 images. But this chronicle says that there are only 3 images. The ambiguity. Now 2 questions are there. One can ask, why only 3 image houses were named instead of 4? Which are the 3 image houses and how to identify each of them with given 3 names? First we will see those 4 images or image houses. This is the first one. If you see from the left hand side, this is the first one. And it is one of the biggest seated statue found in Sri Lanka. And it has an elegant arch with 4 images of miniature Buddha statues around this. You can see here, here, here and here. And then there is another seated statue. This is in a rock-cut cave in between other images. And then we can see a standing statue like this. And there is a sleeping Buddha or recumbent statue. So there are clearly, we have 4 Buddha statues at Galvihara. But the chronicle says only about 3 statues. The recumbent statue. As there is only 1 statue in recumbent position, this has unanimously identified as the statue in the Nipanna Lena, because Nipanna means in Pali recumbent or sleeping or something like that. Therefore, there is only one recumbent image, so no question about identification of this image. This is the Nipanna Lena. The rock cut cave. Many scholars believe that this is the Vijayadhara Guha, because this is in a rock cut cave. So they believe that the Guha, the word Guha is for the rock cut type, the cave goes inside. So most of them believe like this is the Vajradhara Guha. But H.C.P. Bell, who studied those images first in 1908, he thought that the other images, these minor images here and there, they are known as Vijayadharas. Due to that, he told that this Guha, this cave became the Vijayadhara Guha. And one other scholar called P.V. Pranandu, he believed that there were some Vajradhara rituals has practiced inside this cave, therefore this became the Vajradhara Guha. And one other scholar called Reverend Kamrupitiya Varnatana, he believed that there is a Vajra symbol in the seat, I will show it later. Due to that, this is the Vajradhara Guha. Generally, today they understood this as the Vajradhara Guha. Then we stand the statue. This is the most controversial statues among those four statues. Different opinions on the peculiar hand portrait. This hand portrait is very peculiar one. We can't see it in Sri Lanka. We have only one or two traces, but it's very peculiar. We can't find it somewhere in this much big statues. Some scholars consider this as a figure of Ananda. Say for it, it's a weeping Ananda at the Buddha's deathbed. Therefore, they consider this as not a Buddha statue. The other three statues are the statues mentioned in the chronicle, because this is not a Buddha statue according to the scholars. First, S.M. Burroughs said so in 1895, I think. This is Ananda, and then Bell also followed that, and then D.T. Devendra also believed this is Ananda, and then A.D.T. Perra of the Buddhist Encyclopedia, he also believed this is not a Buddha image but Ananda. But nowadays, everyone believes that this is also a Buddha image, it is not Ananda. And some scholars like Paramilitana believed that this statue was there before Parakrama Bahu built other statues. And Professor Chandravikram believed that this was post-dated and this was not belongs to Parakrama Bahu's period. Therefore, they safely place the other three images with the given names. The seated image. This has been generally considered as the statue in the Nisinna Lena, because Nisinna means seated in Pali. Therefore, if other seated image in the rock cut cave is Vajradhara Guha, then there is only one Nisinna image. So this is the Nisinna image according to them. Only two scholars have argued against that, and they said that this is the Vajradhara Guha because there is a Vajra symbol here. Due to that, Dr. Kamrupitiya Varnatana Thero believed that this is a Vajradhara image. And Professor Chandravikram he interpreted this as Amitabha Buddha in Vajradhara Buddhism because there are 5 other images around this. And according to him also, this is the Vajradhara Guha. And all the others believe that this is the Nisinna Lena. Now see my interpretation. I believe that the rock cut cave is antedated to King Parakrama Bahu. And I believe Colossus seated statue is the Nisinna Lena. And recumbent statue is no doubt is the Nipanna because there is only one in that position. And the standing statue is in the Vijayadhara Guha. So this is for the first time to call that standing is a Vajradhara Guha. So how do I call? So if you see the stylistic features on this image, it is different from other three. It's totally different from other three. This is similar to Anuradhapura period images, not to the Polonnaru images. And it is very similar to the statues at Surumunia. at Anuradhapura, and also Tantirimali is nearby Anuradhapura. Therefore, this image can't be reckoned with the other three images. And this guha also, this cave is also interpreted, named as Isrumuniya Lena when we were discovered Colombo in 1870s. One pagan has discovered Colombo, and that time this temple was known as Isrumuniya temple, not as Galvihari. And because the people are known about the similarity between this temple and Isrumuniya. Isrumuniya is clearly the 8th century temple. And Tantirimale also this kind of rock cut cave is there. It also has some kind of similar face cut. But this is clearly not a Colombo image. Therefore, I can safely place this is not an image belong to Parakrambahu's three images. And the layout, if we consider about layout, Parakrambahu's three images were in side by side, not in the middle. If he built the Uttararama, he selected the middle place for the huge statue, not this kind of small one. This is a small and insignificant statue when we consider about other three. Other three has a similar shape and stylistically same, and this is different. And the word guha, Professor Vikramagami clearly shown that guha has been used for this kind of rock cut caves, not only other places. And he has given a big list on that and says that the guha is appropriate for this type of, not only this type of places, but other places also. Then we will see the stand list. So this statue already identified as Buddhist statue, and I think you also agree with me, and everyone agree that now no one believes that this is Ananda. And stylistically this is very similar to other two statues, the seated Nisinnavan and Nipannavan. The identification of this hand posture, I can identify it as the Vajra Hunkara Mudra. This mudra, when Vajra Hunkara Mudra, normally we have to hold Vajra and Ganta, but in this image we don't have Vajra and Ganta, but the style and the posture is similar to Vajra Hunkara. Vajra Hunkara Mudra is the mudra of Vajradhara Buddha. So therefore, we can identify this is the Vajradhara Guha, because if this is the Vajradhara Buddha, then this image house is Vajradhara Guha. So my conclusion is, the controversial standing statue at the Galvihari is the representation of the Vajradhara Buddha. The rock cut cave does not belong to King Parakrama's construction at Uttararama. Galvihara has been highly influenced by the concepts of Vajrayana Buddhism. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Manasuga. I think, I'm also going to add something to it. Why the standing Buddha there is referred as Buddha, the standing statue, because only Devas, Bodhisattvas and Buddhas were standing on lotus pedestal. There is no other. Therefore, definitely this must be a Buddha statue. More than that, Parakrambahu's Tivanka image house, where you don't get the head now, that is also the same swastika mudra, where all our mudras were chest forward mudras. There you can see this is set up, and I have conjectured the whole thing. You can see it sits very well into similar one, but here it's resting on left leg, the other one resting on right leg. Right? It doesn't matter, but it's the same mudra. So that was popular at that time. And when Parakrambahu did anything, it should be bigger than all what was there. That was his mentality and attitude. The seated Buddha on the other side, even though the rock on that area is not that good, right? He did a big, larger statue than what is inside. I think Professor Manasunda's series of argument is very much valid to rethink what it is. Because the architecturally all were brick made, covered with it. The standing one had a higher one, The other one, the linear, this one, the square. All three were there because we did not have any walking Buddha in this country. We only had the Tribanga Buddha instead of walking Buddha. Standing Buddha, Tribanga, seated and reclining. That's how it went in. I think it's a very good analysis that you brought in. It's open for discussion. I can give another, say, I got a note somewhere in a document that Professor Paranikana has drilled the stamping statue and inserted an iron rod because there's a crack in the neck. I just want to check really. Then I took my metal detector. When you take the it goes, that means iron is there. Then I found it's drilled through, bent and fitted onto the living rock. Then we were scared at what time it will corrode and spread the whole thing out. That was in 47. Stainless steel was not there at that time. We have not used stainless steel. So then what we thought, we should cover it without allowing it to get wet. So that's why the roof came in. Because it's very valuable. Not only that, even the, say, Pulaski statue, so-called Paraknabahu statue in Coronado also had the same thing. It's broken, drilled through and fitted in. So these were information that we gathered, one has to either use high-speed percussion drills to remove the steel that is there without disturbing it, and we introduce stainless steel or bronze. So it's something that future conservators have to look at. Because this controversy or discussions on these four statues, I think many scholars came out with different ideas. Right? This is something I think very much acceptable. Say we have to look for more information to really consolidate it. Any discussions? Okay, thank you, Professor.
Mr. Doctor can have these photographs now. Mr. Doctor can have these photographs now.
Thank you very much. I wish to state one thing. Dr. Andreas Nell, antiquarian, years ago had published that the standing statue was the Buddha statue because of the lotus pedestal.
Andreas Nell is the first person to identify this as a Buddha statue. Before that, they were doing this Ananda.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mrs. Madhavi Gunaratna. Subject they are going to present is architectural features and their use by Sri Lankans in relation to temples, hygiene in Anuradhapura period as revealed in Tripitakas.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen. I am Miss Madhavi Gunaratna, student of Postgraduate Institute of Archaeology, University of California. My topic is architectural features and their use by Sri Lanka in relation to temples, hygiene in Anuradhapura period as revealed in Tripitaka. My colleagues, Mrs. Sriyani Hemalaka and Dr. Vasanta Mendis, Senior Lecturer, University of Sri Jayawardenepura. As we know, Tripitaka is a valuable resources in Buddhism. It is divided in three parts: Vinaya, Abhidharma, and Sutra. The Vinaya Pitaka is the Vinaya Pitaka is explain the rules and regulation of that monks could follow, how to follow their practices and other things. According to Tripitaka, there is a lifestyle that monks should follow. It was recorded in Vinaya Pitaka, Besakjatkandakaya, Chullavaga Pali and Janatagara Vata. Monastic architecture began in Sri Lanka during Anuradhapura era, 3rd century BC. So the hospitals, Sri Lanka had a magnificent indigenous medicine system during Anuradhapura era. Actually, the first hospital built by King Pandu Kabe, Anuradhapura period. It was recorded in Mahavamsa, and also there were many literary sources. The medicine system was based on Ayurvedic principles, and there were permanent hospitals established in Mihintale, Polonnaruwa and some other places. This is the hospital of Mihintale. There were, you can see that the rooms and the bed over, the cold that most of the monks to help their medical treatments and other things. And the ponds and their usage, according to Tripitaka, Buddhist monks imposed rules on usage for water for daily requirements. Ponds were built by kings to facilitate the monks. There were a number of ponds in inner and outer city of Anuradhapura. Twins pond, that means Kuttam Pokuna, at Pokuna, like that there are most ponds in Anuradhapura. These are the pictures of Kuttam Pokuna and at Pokuna. Bathrooms. According to the Tripitaka, monks were facilitated to use bathroom which is called Janatagara. Those were made of stone and divided into several parts. The bathtub was in the center and hearths were on the either side of boiled water using pots. Around the bathtub, grinding stones were placed to grind herbals and apply on the monks' bodies and head. Separate places were provided for steel barn. The example, we can see the Janatagara in Abhay. You can see that this is the Janatagara, the middle of that there's a bathtub, and these places were in that hearth and other things, and this is that pots. We can hear that see herb, that means apple, that means sometimes grinders and other things to apply that herbals and other things. The toilets, according to the Tripitaka, suitable places were prepared to aid the monks. The toilets were made of stone and the system consisted of the green hole and carved position for both foots. Foot holding bases were carved with the features of female or to indicate anitya. Not only that features of females, and there were other carving also, that some the various kind of carvings there. So this is we can see this one, the Asoka Ramaya at Anuradhapura. These are the images of the toilets. This is the primary one, not the Asoka Ramaya. I come to my conclusion. I want to say briefly, the Anuradhapura period is the began to this monk architectural monasteries. That is the beginning of that architectural monasteries for the monks. And according to the Tripitaka, these monasteries built by, because that Tripitaka is the truth. The Lord Buddha preached to the Tripitaka for the rules and regulations and for the monks and the mental and physical things for. So therefore, I think that's why I want to say this paper. Thank you all of you listen to my paper, and once again I thank the SAARC Cultural Organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it was a subject that we had to do a lot of studies because what was done so far is limited. And I really thank the learned lecturer for getting this subject into scene, because we have to look at, when 5,000 monks in Abhayagiriya, 3,000 in Mahavihara, another 3,000 in, say, Jetavana, and some more in Minithale, to keep the health. There are things that, you have to feed the monks, you have to see that, they are healthy, and also see that they don't fight each other. All three were there that's management. So it's, I think it's very advanced in the whole thing, because it's being dry zone, getting, say, seasonal water has to be, say, kept stored, and it should be channeled from the main tanks into whatever the ponds and, say, other wells that they are using. So it's a combination of irrigation, architecture, behavior patterns, rules and regulations adopted, all that came into sea. So it's, I think, it's very advanced era. Not much studies done so far in relation to that. There were certain things, but I think that's one area that we have to really open up for studies and research and discussion. Now it's for you to contribute on paper, please.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I'm a little confused. What is that? May I know your name, please? You said Dilma.
Miss Madhavi.
Madhavi. Okay. Right. Dilma Karana. Okay. Fine. I will.
Madhavi Gunara.
So the Madhavi Gunara. Okay. I was confused. I didn't follow anything for that matter. Because when you said Janata Gara for Janata, I hit the roof and just froze. Okay, thank you.
Madhavi, could it be possible, do you have a photo of the toilet where the carvings of the female figures are found? Because yesterday also this question came up, and we have not heard of anything like that. I don't know if Chairman is aware of such a thing.
She didn't have in this one, it was not there.
Even as late in history as 17th century, in a highly organized and civilized place like France, the royalty, the court of the Louis XIV and Louis XV, were moving from palace to palace, opulent places full of mirrors and gilded ornaments and tapestry, and they would stay in a palace for about a month and move on, simply because they lacked facilities for the toilets, and so they were defecating and urinating everywhere. The place would be turned into a pigsty. In my own experience, some years ago when I was a student, I had to serve a period in the army, and we were taking for field exercises somewhere, and we were camped, let's say about 2,500 men, organized in smaller units, battalions. We were camped in a forest. Within 3 days, the place became inhabitable. We fortunately could move on. Monastery, and especially with performing a role of a hospital cannot move. So the question is, do you have any information about supply of water to, in terms of pipes, or whether the reservoirs where the water would be carried in buckets, and also the management of the effluent, how far would it be taken away from the terrains of the, of the establishment, and were there any rules controlling the access to the places which were polluted? Other question is, when I look at this, the example of the, I understand it's a toilet, are there any indications in Vinaya about the provision of privacy, or did people, regardless of the age and state of health, perform bodily functions in full public view of everybody, or maybe there were some periods during the day where the places were used and everybody had not, those who were not using the toilets had to avoid the gates. I'm interested in the social aspect of the problem. Maybe there are some physical examples how these problems were being handled. Thank you.
Yes, I think, Vinaya also gives strict orders how health should be looked after. And in many chronicles it was mentioned, even when you come out from the toilet, there are clay balls, dry clay balls kept outside with water, and you have to use that, put your water into it, and that when you really rub with clay, it's like detergent, cleans everything. They say you should not hold drinking water cup without washing that way. So that's how the strict hygiene was kept. And in designing toilets, they always say it should be downwind. Sometimes a downwind may be upwind or somebody else's, because it's so closely packed. I think they were very much concerned about the wind, and all the urinals, when the urine goes out, it comes into 3 pots, filled with charcoal, filled with lime, and something else. So those were looked after carefully to see that the smell and hygiene is kept in whatever best possible way. I'm sure when thousands of people living in one place for a long period, it would have been a real task to look after it. Yeah.
You mentioned the use of the clay to wash and disinfect hands. Where would the clay be kept? How often would it be replenished? And what happens with the polluted clay? Second question is, what was used as a toilet equivalent of toilet paper? I know that in Chinese monasteries, sticks were used to scrape the excreta from the buttocks of the person using the toilet. What were the materials in the monastic context of Sri Lanka? Were these materials supplied in advance and collected from some storage area, or were improvised each time somebody had to go to the toilet? And then were they the designated disposal areas? Is there an archaeological evidence for such?
Yes, actually it's flown into pits. There are channels, it was flown into pits. And also you can see even on those, that's the place to keep the water pot. Everybody carried water pot when they go to the toilet. So it washed down, and I'm sure there were attendants looking after the health and cleaning of the toilets. In every monastery, there were people looking after that. So it was well arranged, otherwise he could not have survived that long. I think, as I said, that's why I brought the idea that a lot more to be studied in this area. Because when 5,000 monks living in one place, to feed them, to see the health, feeding means I think when you go to Anuradhapura, you will see those, rice cannons when you calculate the volume, it's in stone, but it was covered with copper or bronze inside. And it's fed with rice, and the monks come along and say there were servants serving them to be taken before 12 o'clock, So it would have been a real task. And it says, you have to inform the kitchen that, so many number will come from that monastery for the refectory. So like that, there were strict disciplines and order kept there to see all the done in whatever the best possible way.
Mr. Chairman, can I just make a quick addition? I think the secret of good health in Sri Lankan monasteries was the use of water. And we had plenty of water, and we used plenty of water to wash ourselves after going to the toilet, after having meals, washing our hands, etc., etc. Whereas in China, water was not used. Maybe also due to it's so developed due to the climatic conditions. And they used like grass or something before they invented paper. Instead, the dry grass or something they would have used before they invented paper. Because paper was invented in China. That itself is a very important contribution. I think the secret was the availability of plenty of water and the use of water to its good use, put water into good use. Thank you.
Any comments?
I think you have touched on a very important aspect that not being looked at on social history. I think there's a guy in Pakistan, India, who maintains a website on toilets. And the place of the stick was taken by the left hand. And with the imagination and water. The Romans used, as sponges to be sticks, and it was smelly. These are not so smelly as in during the feudal period of Europe. And when the Portuguese came here, the main Portuguese historian is a guy called Coelho, the professor, and he said that the signalists laughed at the Europeans as being unclean, smelly, etc., etc. I don't know that thing. So these are areas that one should look at, because it depends on, and I think we should be thinking a lot of this. Just to add to, the effluent, what you are saying, I think they are more urinal, no? In Western monasteries are urinal. For the major thing, you have a hole inside, and you go to Anuradhapura Museum, you see a whole sample of them. But it would be very interesting to go to Western monasteries, which belong to the thing called, I think, meditation monasteries. Vijay Surya did the book on it. No?
Actually, I found plaster in some of those, because we would have plaster and burnish to see that a smooth flow, to promote the smooth flow in it. So like that, things would have been definitely designed and looked after. Okay, I think I have to thank all the presenters, and it was very interesting papers and the discussions. So we finished our session, and I thank you all for being here for this session. Thank you.